All right, let's just jump right in. You know, the big story everyone keeps talking about in real estate is this idea of a market reset. But what if that story, well, what if it's not the whole story? Today, we're going to break down why that whole narrative just doesn't quite fit New England, a market that's really telling its own story of resilience.
Yeah, market reset. It's like the buzzword of the year, right? It's the dominant conversation you hear in real estate circles pretty much everywhere across the country. And it paints this picture of a widespread correction, a big cool down after some absolutely red-hot years.
And look, in a lot of places, it makes sense. The national story really is one of adjustment. You're seeing more homes on the market, more price cuts. It's a market that's finding a new, kind of lower energy balance.
But here's the thing. Is that really the whole story? Not even close. What if I told you there's a big chunk of the country where that script just gets thrown out the window? Where the market is doing something completely different? Well, that's exactly where we're going today.
So let's get right to it. Think of it this way. On one hand, you've got the national market, and on the other, you've got New England. And as you're about to see, the data paints two totally different pictures. It's like a tale of two markets. First up, and this is the big one, folks, inventory. It is absolutely crucial. As you can see, nationally, inventory is on the rise, more homes for sale. But just look at New England. It's the complete opposite. Inventory is still stubbornly, significantly below where it was before the pandemic. To put it simply, there just are not enough homes to buy.
Okay, so what does that lack of inventory do to prices? Well, while a lot of the country is seeing price adjustments and reductions, New England has held incredibly firm. In fact, prices are still showing some modest appreciation, right in that healthy 3 to 5% range year over year. So no big dramatic swings here.
And that brings us to the pace of the market. How fast are homes selling? Nationally, things are taking a bit longer. In New England, things have definitely calmed down from the frantic pace of a couple years ago, but the market is far from stagnant. A home that's priced right and in a good spot, it's still moving efficiently, usually within a month or two.
If you want to understand this whole story in one single image, this is it. Just look at that gap. The difference between the inventory we had before the pandemic and where we are now it's massive. This isn't just a little dip. It's a fundamental, structural shortage that's driving everything else we're talking about.
So, this leads us to the real million-dollar question, right? Why is this happening? What are the forces at play that are creating this supply standoff and making New England such an outlier?
Let this number really sink in for a second. Across a huge part of the Northeast, housing inventory is still more than 50% lower than it was before the pandemic. That one statistic, it explains so much about what's really going on.
What we're looking at is what the experts call a structural imbalance. The main driver is that critically low inventory, and it's made worse by the fact that new construction just can't keep pace. And sure, higher interest rates definitely cooled things down a bit, but they didn't magically build more houses. So you have to understand, this isn't a demand collapse. It's a supply problem, plain and simple.
Okay, so what does all this mean for actually being successful in this kind of unique environment? I mean, when the market itself isn't creating that forward momentum, something else has to fill that void.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. In a market that isn't rocketing up or crashing down, a stable market, you can't just ride the wave anymore. Success becomes so much less about the overall market conditions and so much more about individual skill, about strategy, and about execution. Your performance is the key variable now. And this is where the game truly changes. You have to remember, New England is just a collection of thousands of tiny, hyper-local markets. What's happening in one town could be totally different from the town right next door. Those national headlines, they're just noise. Deep, block-by-block local insight, that's the signal.
So what does this new performance playbook actually look like? Well, it all starts with mastering your specific micro-market, because a state-level view just doesn't cut it. Next, you have to be able to translate all this complex data into clear, confident guidance for people. And finally, it really comes down to the fundamentals, communicating proactively to build trust and having the discipline to stay consistent when the easy wins just aren't there.
And all of this leads to a really powerful conclusion. In a stable, supply-constrained market like the one we're seeing in New England, expertise isn't just a nice-to-have, it is the decisive edge.
And that's such a key way to reframe this. Just because the market isn't having a big reset doesn't mean opportunity has vanished. Not at all. It just means the opportunities have shifted. They're no longer found in these huge market-wide trends, but in skillfully navigating the complexities on the ground.
And really, if there's one single thing to take away from our whole explainer today, it's this. In New England, trying to time the market is a fool's errand. Real success isn't driven by luck or timing. It's driven by deeply understanding the specific, local dynamics at play and having the expertise to act on that knowledge.
So we'll just leave you with this to think about. In a market like this, one without any easy wins, what truly defines success? When the market doesn't just hand you momentum, well, you have to create it. It's built on discipline, on professionalism, and on genuine expertise. And you know what? Maybe that's a much more sustainable and impressive kind of success anyway.